Miss Teresa Stevenson,
Here.
thank you. Mr. Jimmy Sandoval,
Here.
Mr. Tom Sidwell,
Here.
Mr. Philip Box,
Here.
and Mr. James Streetman.
Here. Okay, before we go any further, let me run down the list of names of everybody that's here. Now, Dr. Bush, I'm going to let you introduce the guests down here. You get the privilege of trying to pronounce some of these names. I'm Jim Streetman. We have Ms. Teresa Stevenson, Mr. Tom Sidwell, Mr. Jimmy Sandoval, Mr. Philip Box, Dr. Gregory Bush, Mr. Joel Kaiser, Mr. Josh McVeigh, Mr. Jim Morgan. I believe he's here someplace. Dr. Marie Haas, Mr. Christopher Jones, Ms. Marie Beth Bush, Dr. Manny Insenius, Mr. Melon Rasick, Dr. Denise Hackett, Dr. Dwayne Brooks, and Ms. Margaret Ragnar. Now, Dr. Bush, would you introduce the guests, please?
I would be delighted to. Would you like to go ahead and move on through the agenda, and I'll just do them as new people, or do you want me to go ahead and introduce them?
You want to introduce them now, then we'll pick up and go on with the agenda then.
That's what we're doing. Okay. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I am very delighted to tell you we have been very busy over the last month, closing up the final gaps in the areas that we know we needed to fill at the college. And I'm very happy to report tonight that I believe that we now have all of the leadership team in place. For the first time since the beginning of my presidency. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to introduce these individuals. And then I'm going to ask each of them to just sort of give us a little, snippet about your background, the type of work you've done, where you've worked, your education, that kind of thing, just a little bio of yourself. And since he's at the top of my list and our most recent hire, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Russell Irby, or IRB. Which is it, sir?
It's Irby.
It's Irby. Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Russell Irby is the Senior Executive Director for Human Resources. So Mr. Irby, you may begin.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm thankful that y'all have showed the faith to bring me into this position. I've been in management for about 30 years, but human resource management for about 22. I've held positions, union, non-union, textile, retail, hospitality. I've worked in colleges like Liberty University, Florida State, Grambling University. So I have a broad range of human resources experience across the board. And like I said, just looking very forward to coming out there and helping set up a really good program.
Great. Well, we're very, very happy to have you, Mr. Irby. Next, I'd like to introduce Ms. Blanca, and I'm going to let her pronounce her name since I've already forgotten it since she briefed me. But we fondly refer to her as Blanca on our campus. Blanca serves as our new Chief Financial Officer, and she is the Executive Director of Business. Blanca, if you would, please.
Yeah, so I'm Blanca Failukevicius. My pleasure to meet you all. It's my career has been pretty much in finance for the last 20 years. I worked in finance and operations in large private industries, private companies, in higher ed for the last 12 years. In budgeting, in finance, in operations, in process improvement, and driving profitability. I'm educated in finance and public finance, and have a master's in business administration from the United Kingdom. And I'm excited to be now moving to Tucumcari to work and serve in the college the best way possible that I can. It's very, very nice to meet you all, and I look forward to working together.
Great. Yes, and if you didn't pick up on that, Blanca is coming to us from the financial management of Loyola Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. We're very pleased. I want to thank Dr. Murphy for a little reminder. If everybody would mind putting their mics on mute, and if you switch to mute, we'll be able to cut back on the background noise. And then as we individually speak, we can turn them on. Thank you. Thank you, Blanca. Yes, I understand, Ms. Stevenson. That's background noise is a problem. I think we'll get that. Hopefully, I'll take that. I don't see Julio on here this evening. Did anybody see him log on? Julio Galindo? Okay. He was going to try to make it. He wasn't sure. So we'll go ahead and skip on down and maybe he'll join us later. We're also very, very excited. Another search we've been working on for quite some time tonight to introduce to you Jason Nemro, who hails from the great city of Tucumcari, New Mexico. And he is joining us now as the Chief Information Officer and the Senior Executive Director of Information Technology. So, Mr. Nemro, if you would take a second, walk us through your bio and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my! All right. Like I said, I've been on and off living in Tucumcari since 1995. So some of the board members are familiar to me. I've been working in technology for about 25 years, and I did it for a long time for the New Mexico Cooperative Extension Service, and I got the opportunity to expand my knowledge a little more, and I worked for Eastern New Mexico University actually I've done it twice, and then I got the opportunity to go to Oklahoma City and see how things go in the big city. Worked for Dell and for the Department of Defense, and had a lot of varied and wonderful experience and met a lot of great people, and looking forward to being able to bring back a lot of that experience and just I don't know what to say, joy back to Tucumcari. I had almost resigned myself to the fact that even though my home address is in Tucumcari, that I would always be working far away. Like today, I'm in Socorro, and I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to actually live in my house. It's wonderful. Instead of my family just being able to live in Tucumcari, I get to live in Tucumcari again too. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and to bring all this varied experience that I've gained over the last 25 years to bear here at Mesa Lands.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Nemro. We're equally as excited to get you on board. To Mr. Chairman and members of the board, all the people you're meeting today, they're all on contract now. So actually, I think Mr. Nemro, your contract starts August 1st, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So Mr. Nemro's does not, but the rest are all on contract now. They are working remotely as they move and relocate. And we've worked out agreements with all of them to do that. Mr. Nemro's situation, he already lives here, but once his time of service is up, he'll just come back home and back to us. So he'll be with us full time, effectively August 1st. So anyway, he has been. However, we've been keeping him up to date on what's going on at the college, so he's aware of the technical issues. So as he's working out his leave from New Mexico Technical, he is bringing himself on board with what's going on at Mesa Lands at the same time. The last I believe I have to introduce, and if I'm wrong, someone correct me, is I want to welcome Bridget Davis. Bridget Davis joins us in the faculty, but her title is actually the coordinator of our phlebotomy program as well as health sciences. What she will be doing is she does not only coordinate phlebotomy and develop the curriculum and teach phlebotomy both as a credit course on the academic side of our house under the leadership of Mr. Kaiser, but she also works on the non-credit side of the house with workforce development with Mr. Morgan and Mary Beth through workforce development. So there'll be different ways in which we deliver that program. So with that said, and she'll also be working directly with Shannon Rees, the director of nursing, to coordinate the nursing program. That's one of the expectations of the nursing program, is to have a health sciences coordinator, and she'll be working in that role as well. So she'll be doing 3 or 4 things for us, and I know doing a wonderful job. So Bridget, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell them where you went to school and where you're from and all that kind of thing. And you're muted.
I was originally born here, but I was raised all throughout California. That is where I did my residency with phlebotomy at multiple different locations and different settings. So, and that was over at National Career Education in Citrus Heights. The last place that I moved from was Northern Nevada, over in Reno. Up by the California border. And there I was the lead phlebotomist. I had over 15 years of experience, and like I said, in multiple different atmospheres. And I hope to bring the confidence that our new phlebotomists need to be successful in their new career.
Great. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you.
I'll mention one last, just because you're going to be hearing the name before we have an opportunity to meet. Also on with us is Julio Galindo. Julio will be joining us as the Chief Diversity, Inclusion, Equity, and Belonging Officer, which is responsible for the compliance aspects of our hiring and making sure that we follow all the laws related, for example, to EEOC, Title IX, Title VII, and so forth. He will also be working as the college's Director of Institutional Advancement, which means that he'll be working with those people in our community, foundations, grants, benefactors, anybody who wants to help and support the college or seek out ways in which we can develop and add to our revenue side of it. We'll be leading that. So he'll be doing grant writing, working directly with that, as well as other areas of the government and individuals who have been benefactors to the college in the past, and also maybe some new ones in the future. So we want to welcome him. Just a little about him, I can tell you. He has had a very successful career in fundraising, and which is very good for us. In 5 years, he raised $125 million. He's using those resources, same resources, to help Mesa Lands. He has already been in contact with a number of foundations and individuals who are benefactors. And so he's working very hard to change the other side of that balance sheet that Blanca's working on to help increase the revenues for the college, as well as he is working on a number of grants and opportunities for us to expand in those areas as well. So it's going to be a great addition to the college. Mr. Chairman, I believe, sir, that is the introduction of all of our new guests that are with us this evening. I'll simply say to them as I turn it over to you that they're welcome to stay. The meeting this evening should not be prolonged if you want to stick with us. Otherwise, you may leave. Mr. Chairman, it's yours.
Okay, sure. Okay, folks, do we have approval for the one correction on the agenda? We're not going to have an executive session tonight, so over here on item 7, we will strike that.
What happened?
We'll strike item 7. We'll strike item 8. Okay. That being said, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
The doctor.
So move. It's Tom, and I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. And who moved? Jimmy?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. You got it, Margaret? Hello, Margaret.
I have Mr. Sandoval made the motion and Mr. Tom Sidwell seconded.
Well, you're backwards, but that's okay.
Okay,
Yeah. Tom made the
Oh.
motion and Jimmy seconded.
okay, I'll switch it then.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
He gets his,
Mr. Box. I
Muted.
think you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Sidwell
Yes.
and Mrs. Stevenson,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the public on this agenda?
There are no comments received at this time.
Okay. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion then to approve the consent agenda? That will be the minutes from the regular meeting of June the 21st and the second special meeting we had on June the 29th.
I asked her if.
So move.
Okay.
Second.
Have it. Okay. And who seconded? Bill?
Philip.
Thank you, sir. Roll call.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay, I don't have anything to report tonight. Let me ask Jimmy. You have turned your camera off, which is fine. But could you?
Uh-oh.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Could you turn your mic off? We're getting feedback from you.
Oh, okay.
That's the little microphone button right there beside the camera.
Lo están oyendo usted ahí.
Yeah,
Just move the mouse
Okay.
cursor over there to that little thing, and it'll turn red on you. And then, are you there, Jimmy?
I'm here.
I think Chris can mute him.
Yeah, Chris, can you help Jimmy with that? There we go. Thank you.
Yes.
Now, do you want us to see you, Jimmy, or you want to leave it like it is?
He's muted now.
Yeah, I know. That's the wrong thing, isn't it? You know what? Let's just go right on like
Okay.
we are, and we'll go from there. So I don't have anything to report, Dr. Bush. It's going to fall right into your little park, and you got a lot. Looks like.
Mr. Chairman, are we supposed to take action on the minutes
We
of the
did,
board
didn't we?
meeting?
We did.
Oh, when we approved it, we took action. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm okay.
I thought we did. Yes,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, Tom. That's okay.
We did. Yes.
Okay, Dr. Bush, it's in your court, sir. You're muted, sir.
I never do that. Okay. So, sir, I will keep this very brief. You have in your board packets my schedule that you can take a look at and see what the areas I've been working in over the last month. You also should be able to recognize pretty quickly that we've spent a tremendous amount of our time getting these critical hires in place and working on getting our budget submitted to HED. And I want to just take a moment and extend some thank yous and some appreciations to the team of people who worked very hard on pulling that budget together. I don't want to forget anybody, but I'm going to try to call out a couple. Certainly, Dr. Brooks was very critical in spearheading and pulling the team together, as well as working with Blanca, working with the folks from IT. I believe Dr. Hackett may have been involved in that as well. So, and of course, Margaret. But I just want to make sure that you realize that the budget was submitted, and it was submitted not only on time, it was submitted 2 days early. So we're very proud to be able to be the Mesa land that's not asking for an extension, but are actually turning our material in 2 days early. So even when facing additional challenges. So we did very well with that. Very pleased about that. I also want to point out that on June 15th, there were 2 significant reports that were required. Both of those reports got submitted. I believe, Dr. Hackett, you led one of those. Is that the one that went to HLC? Or was that an ATD report?
There was an HLC update that was due. Blanca was leading that effort. She had spoken to HLC's CFO, actually.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I just want to deliver the good news that it too was done, completed, and submitted on time in June, so that we accomplished that. The other report that was due on the 15th that was completed, done, and submitted on time was led by Shannon Fries, the Director of Nursing, in collaboration with Joel Kaiser, the Chief Academic Officer. They submitted their report on time, and I want to share with the board that about an hour ago, I received a phone call from Dr. Rommel, who is the Undersecretary for the Department of Education, called me directly himself to tell us that we have received our grant. We applied for it, it was competitive, and we got $700,000 for our nursing program. That will be confirmed at a later date by the Cabinet Secretary, but that was announced to us this evening. This is going to be about $500 in non-reoccurring funding, which actually provides us with the materials and equipment necessary to build the nursing education center. And then there will be $200,000 reoccurring to go towards salaries for nurses. And then next year, we are encouraged to reapply and get at least another nurse. And without any big question about that, we'll certainly be doing that. So I have a tremendous pleasure and excitement of being able to say that nursing is well on its way. Dr. Brooks and Dr. Hackett have been working closely with HLC because the final step in getting that nursing program will be just sort of a stop and view visit of our nursing plan. That has been scheduled for October, and everything is right on track. So we're real good shape there. We don't have any doubts regarding that. We'll also be experiencing an HLC site visit. This is a natural and a normal thing that they do every so many years, where they actually go to our alternate teaching sites, any place where we teach that's not on our main campus. Well, in our case, these are prisons. So they're coming down. They've selected 3 prisons to go visit and look at the prison, because we don't actually teach in the prison. We use technology to teach into the prison. So, but they will be visiting 3 prisons, and that will be sort of an easy move for us as well. Dr. Hackett, in fact, has had a very fruitful conversation with the people at the Higher Learning Commission. And unless she's heard differently and wants to correct me, they were going to continue to investigate whether or not they were going to even do that, since it was located at prisons and really nothing there is in our control. So, Dr.
Right.
Hackett, was that correct?
And Yes, and as Dr. Bush mentioned, it is standard. They do multi-location visits year 3 and year 8. So they'll be coming this year, and then they'll come in a few years. They'll pick 3 more random locations. And when we first talked to HLC, the one woman thought maybe they're not going to do it because it's at prisons. But then another email came saying, yes, they probably would, but this is looking at 2023. So we'll see what happens from then to now. But I want to be prepared just in case. So that's what we're working as if they're going to come next year for that visit. And for the nursing program, yes, that's October. And we don't have a date yet. We submitted to them 3 dates. They come on a Monday and a Tuesday. They leave usually late Tuesday. So once we hear back, which dates they pick in October, we will be prepared for that as far as making sure everyone's on campus that they may need to speak to, and go from there. We're all set.
Yep. Pretty simple, standard operating procedures. And, but the good news is, and again, I think we owe a great deal of appreciation to Dr. Hackett, who's leading the accreditation motion work at the college and making sure that that's being taken care of. She's doing a remarkable job. Okay. The other thing I just want to point out is that we've had some other successes at the college as well. The college has been recognized. Our leadership team actually has been, I think, most recognized in this. I am blessed to be the president to represent that leadership team, but we recently were selected by an organization that studies the progress and transformation made by chief executive officers. They pick the top 50 in the nation. You don't apply for it, you're selected. And the other members of that 50 include like Microsoft and Apple and Facebook, those CEOs. And right now, Dr. Brooks and I have been invited to receive this honor on behalf of Mesalands, but it'll be mostly targeted at me. It's to recognize the CEO of these corporations. And so I'm very proud to represent all of you. And quite frankly, it's not me. It's all of you. And this is great. We're with the best colleges in the nation, and it's good news. So anyway, we're in Nashville tonight, so we'll be bringing home the gold. So anyway, all right, with that said, let's move on. Dr. Brooks, who is on the 8th floor, while I'm on the, no, you're on the 5th floor and I'm on the 8th floor. So of our hotel here in Nashville, if you want to pick it up there, sir, and give a report from your position, sir.
Sure. Things I've been involved in. One was helping bring on board the new folks that were introduced this evening. The other thing that was quite urgent was working on the response to the draft audit report that came in from Mr. Matheson. We were able to complete the responses there, and we got that submitted. In addition to some other random items that were kind of day-to-day issues, but that was probably the biggest one. In addition to working with Blanca and assisting in getting resources so we can get a submission lately to the HLC regarding some fiscal 21 closed numbers. So still working on some items there, but yeah, those were the biggest ones. So
yeah. I just have to stop a second and praise again Blanca and Dr. Brooks for this, because I'm not sure in the history of Mesalands we worked off of the temporary findings of our audit. The audit hasn't been completed, but we do know what the findings were, and they have already completed those audit findings and returned them back. We are again way ahead of the game here as it relates to our financial audit for this year, and frankly. All that we're doing is waiting for them to send the final copy, and we're ready for them to start the next audit. So we'll be ready. We'll keep things going. So great job there, and great job to the team. We pulled that together and wrote really outstanding findings. and how we were addressing that. Dr. Hackett, would you have anything you'd like to report this evening on institutional research or institutional effectiveness or accreditation?
Sure. Well, we touched on HLC, and besides that, my main project has been working with New Mexico Higher Education Department, working on spring data files that are due. I actually went to Santa Fe on Monday and met with Dina and Isaac and a few other folks there and introduced myself in person and had some training and just got a little educated on what New Mexico requirements are compared to what I've had to do in the past. So that's, I think, all I wanted to touch on. Everything else I just kind of listed in my report.
Great. Thank you so much. Doing a wonderful job. Thank you. Mr. Rasek, our athletic director, he has some news to share for us, and I think most of it's all good news. So, Millen, would you take it over, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you all for giving me a chance to talk with you a little bit on behalf of our athletic department staff and coaches this evening. And of course, very exciting times as we continue to form the program and prioritize keeping the student athlete equation in balance all the while. And so, of course, Matt Hughes and the rodeo team coming off a successful experience at the national finals last month, and having realized some great achievements overall, finishing 21st nationally in the country and 11th in the association among two-year schools. Fantastic building block to take the program into next year. And Matt, of course, actively recruiting for next year's team. He's actually in Wyoming this week working on that. Men's and women's esports is in the process of hosting their second week of camps, available with various gaming opportunities to members of the community. And that has been a successful outreach experience so far, and they have a couple more days to go with that. Head coach Alan Moss is working diligently on cross-country recruiting and anxiously looking forward to his first full recruiting cycle in that position. And Coach Marty Garcia, leading the way with men's and women's golf, has recently realized two new additions to the men's program for the fall of 22. We continue to gain momentum with pursuing opportunities to add sports that really fit the landscape of the region and the state of New Mexico overall. And we received some outstanding news last week in the form of a very, very positive response from the National Junior College Athletic Association National Office in Charlotte, North Carolina, as it relates to receiving their blessing to pursue adding clay target shooting, which is an offering in a co-ed environment and has a championship segment at the national level through the National Junior College Athletic Association as part of our sports offerings for fall of 23, spring of 24 first year program here. And to that point, Mesalands will be the first NJCAA sponsored program in the state of New Mexico when it launches here in the fall of 22. And we're also proud to say that we are going to lead the way, kind of steal the school slogan, and really be one of the first schools in NJCAA Region 5 to sponsor that opportunity as it relates to clay target shooting. So good times, good things ahead. And we got some people that are just fantastically eager to represent the college on the fields this fall, but also moving forward. And, we are very appreciative of the administration, the faculty, the staff, the community, and the state of New Mexico for getting behind this thing. It's just great time to be at Mesalands. Thank you.
Thank you, Millen. We want to congratulate you too, because the growth that we've seen in sports in the athletic department over the last year really falls upon the hard work of the leadership of our athletic director, and I think we have a lot to be thankful for there. And the only other question I'd ask you about, Millen, about the clay shooting is Mr. Streetman and I, are we too old to participate in that? Because I think we might enjoy that clay shooting activity. So I'm not real sure.
I don't shoot clay pigeons. Millen, I've got to ask, is this skeet or trap or both?
As it's formed, the association has its guidelines and processes, as it relates to the competition standpoint. So, of course, we'll be able to provide that information to you a little bit more moving forward.
Yeah, because it's, if I remember correctly, skeet and trap are set up differently. And I don't remember all the particulars. I've seen the range. I've been out there. I have shot it once or twice. I'm not a big fan of it, but there are a lot of folks that are. And a lot of folks are quite good at it.
Yeah.
But cool. I think it's great.
I think it's terrific. Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and continue on introducing these folks for you.
Yes, sir.
We have up next Mr. Kaiser, the Chief Academic Officer and responsible for student success, and what he would like to share with his area, please.
Thank you. The main bullet points from Academic Affairs are a schedule update for our fall course offerings. That's happening during this week, and that will project the most up-to-date course offerings for traditional, corrections, and to all dual student populations. So we'll have that in play this week. We also have a plan of study update from all our wonderful faculty. So they've been working very diligently on aligning their course objectives with the state requirements. So I want to thank those guys. And I also wanted to go back and thank Shannon, our Director of Nursing, for her leadership and guidance and laying out the nursing program. So that's been an amazing effort. And also thank our executive team, and most importantly, Margaret, for keeping us all in order. So thank you all there.
I think that's good. Mr. Kaiser, would you like to address the issue of the position for dual enrollment and prison and academic outreach?
Right. So we have appointed Dr. Alan Moss to head the area of dual enrollment and over our academic outreach, our corrections delivery. And he is currently developing systems of accountability and communication grids with all of our support institutions. So I'm very excited about that process.
I do believe we're going to see some significant growth in that area. Thank you. I'd like to ask, before we go on to Josh here, because I'm not, seeing it right away here. I'd like to ask Dr. Haas and Chris Jones, who are both with us, as a request of the board. I had a request for an update on the housing and also the condition of Stampede Village, and Dr. Haas and Mr. Jones have both made walkthroughs of that property. And I believe in your board packets, you have photographs of the inside of these properties so you can see what we're talking about here. But Dr. Haas, Mr. Jones, I'll turn it over to Dr. Haas. If you want to start that, however you want to manage, and just provide an update on the status of the old Stampede Village, and then our hopes, plans, and dreams for where we're moving down the road.
Excuse me, Dr. Bush, are you going to skip Mr. McVeigh?
No, I'm not skipping him. He's next, but I'll get him.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Just wanted to say we did do the final walkthrough with Mr. Chester Bobbitt, and in your board packet, as Dr. Bush said, you have photos of both interior and exterior of the building and of course of the surrounding area of the property. So that has been, all the students were moved, and at the end of the semester, so that was done May the 16th, I believe was the last day. We, and I'm going to let Chris talk about what we currently are doing for housing, but that was something that we did see at that property. And once when I stepped into that position, again, by default, when Hazel Roundtree, Dr. Roundtree left. So anyway, and looking at the building, I did that assessment. I looked at the situation and then brought it to the attention of President Bush and moved forward from there. When Chris came on board, then I quickly brought him up to date on what was going on with that location. And so I had him also go with me to go do a walkthrough, and so he could see for himself what was the situation. So I'm going to let Chris speak to that as well. And so, but we welcome any questions you may have, and we would be happy to respond to that.
Okay, Chris, you may continue.
Distinguished board members, thank you very much for allowing me to make a bit of a piggyback on Dr. Haas. When I first got here and my first visit with Dr. Haas to Stampede, the entrances, ADA ramps not being anywhere that I saw, signage, no trespassing, parking, drop-off area that should be ADA compliant for students. Some of the bathrooms, the plumbing, some of the faucets, some of the handles were literally falling off. Student complaints of having to take showers in ankle-deep water, and these had all been reported. Some of the furniture was pallets. I lived in Japan for a little while, and throwing a futon on the floor is something that they do in our culture. They were shipping pallets, wooden shipping pallets, used both as furniture to sit on, bookcases, and also as a bed frame, along with most recently electrical, bees, and plumbing problems. And if I may just at the end here say, what I did notice is we have a paleontology program and a dinosaur place to dig here, second to none in the world. Our rodeo team, as you had just heard from Mr. Rasick, scoring very high. Our wind energy, our Farrier Science, veterinary. Look, students just really want a safe, clean, healthy place, and this can enhance bringing in from our golf coach and from Melanie, I've had brief conversations with, enhancing, bringing students, wind students here and athletes, and all they want is a safe, clean environment. And I'm convinced that, we can certainly provide them that. I would just plead to y'all to please make a decision pretty quickly. I believe one could probably be made to move into budget tonight, tomorrow. I know that they would be ready for us to take over that, but please assist the college and assist our students in a safe, healthy, clean environment, which was not in existence. And I just was in dismay when I saw what was going on at Stampede.
Yeah, I want to thank Chris and Dr. Haas for their comments and bringing this report forward. I know the board had raised a couple of questions to me and wanted some more information, so I was happy to provide that. But I just simply want to say that when it comes to housing, it is a very important part of the student success. And we need to, when we recognized that we had conditions that could be improved upon, it was absolutely necessary for us to be able to step in and intervene, be able to relocate and put those students in places and under conditions where it was much more conducive for their comfort, but mostly as well just as conducive to their success and their ultimate access to our college. So I want to thank Dr. Haas and Chris for your comments on that. Does the board have any further questions that they'd like to raise regarding this issue? Hearing none, I'll just go ahead and move on. As Mr. Streetman pointed out, I accidentally jumped over Josh. So I apologize to Mr. McVeigh, who, of course, represents our Chief Communication and Strategic Enrollment Management. And with that said, Mr. McVeigh, we'll turn it over to you, sir, and you can update us.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Just a few highlights I'd like to make from my report that I turned in. I don't want to go through everything, but just a few highlights. You can see in the report that there are some great publications that we've been doing, billboards, different logo designs, really enhancing our brand in a phenomenal way. We've got a fantastic team of marketers that are working really hard, very diligently, and very creative, and their work is exceptional. So they've done a great job with that. So some of those samples are in the report that I provided. Also, we've been working with strategic enrollment, very excited with the team that we have there in strategic enrollment as they're handling students coming in and enrolling students. We have students that are coming in all the time, and we're very excited to be enrolling them and working with academic affairs and faculty and recruiting and encouraging our students to register for courses and enabling them to lead the way in their student success. I also want to draw your attention to exhibit number 5. It's my responsibility to give us a report on the spring semester enrollment. In spring semester of 21, so what you see there is a year-over-year comparison. The spring semester of 21 actually saw a 19% increase from the prior year before. So that was a great increase for us. We're very excited, of course, going in that spring semester, moving to the fall. This spring semester, we saw a little bit of a decrease, but again, that's from the residuals from the pandemic during that time, meaning that the highest decrease is from our correctional facilities, which of course are out of our control, as far as lockdowns go, the pandemic and the results from that. And so we saw a little bit of a decrease there in that. As you can see from the report there, roughly 31 students is the decrease that we saw in that area. So that gives you an idea year over year between the spring semester of 22 compared to the spring semester of 21. But again, I want to emphasize too that we did see a 19% increase from 21 to 2020. So that's good news. And as we move in, we'll continue to grow and move forward going into the fall semester. Very excited about what we are doing, the leadership that we have brought on, and the direction of the college is moving as we continue to lead the way in the state. So thank you very much.
Mr. McVeigh, would you mind taking just a second? And you are responsible for the strategic enrollment management pipeline that moves the students from prospects through the process to an enrolled and registered student. Can you explain to the board just briefly what your relationship is with Dr. Haas and her area of student support, and what makes your two areas distinctly different?
Absolutely. It's a great relationship to be able to work with Dr. Haas in her area. Dr. Haas is student success, and basically the best way to put it is that we recruit and enroll in strategic enrollment, and then Dr. Haas keeps them. So we get them, and then Dr. Haas's group keeps them, meaning that once we enroll students and register students with strategic enrollment, then Dr. Haas and her group with student success ensures that those students are successful, that they are building community, that they are feeling belonging, that they are connecting in ways that will enhance their education and continue to lead into the future, which also includes persistence, meaning that if a student is struggling or having a difficult time, Dr. Haas and her team are the ones that do intervention and are able to work with students to ensure that they have all the tools necessary and to ensure that they are successful. And so it's really fantastic relationship between strategic enrollment and the student success and student activity side to ensure that we're able to recruit students as effectively as possible and to help them to come into the community of Mesalands. And then Dr. Haas and her team are able to build relationships with those students and encourage them to develop and grow and ensure that they are being successful as they go through their college career.
Thank you, sir. Sometimes those get confused and the lines blurred, and so I'd like the board to have a good, clear understanding. Dr. Haas, do you have anything you want to contribute to that from your perspective of Mr. McVeigh's description?
Just that I have a good team, particularly working with student success. You know, Joanna, and then Lupe working with international non-immigrant students. So we're working on that, and so if anybody in my department sees that there's a student needing some assistance, then we try to work with that. Also, Michael, Mr. B, is working with the food pantry, student food pantry. So if it comes to our attention that there's someone that needs maybe a little bit of assistance there, then we're able to also assist them in that respect. Tutoring, trying to get them, you know, with all the different aspects of trying to succeed. And we have students coming back to the office and saying, I have a 3-point-something GPA. So that makes us feel really good. It makes me feel like we are getting our job done, and that we're seeing that they help them, you know, navigate through this part of their academic career. So
thank you, Dr. Haas. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out one more aspect to this to show how this is all interconnected, so the board can see how these are not independent silos operating by themselves. And with that, I would like to ask Mr. Kaiser to step back into the conversation for a minute and explain what role the faculty have in this. He must have skipped out on the meeting, went somewhere else. There he is. Mr. Kaiser.
I'm sorry, the faculty's role in this cross matrix?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think part of this is understanding at the ground level what the faculty and student interaction is, and making those recommendations to our staff support areas. And that helps in the area of our
It's okay, Joel.
Yeah, you got it.
Just don't worry about that.
Okay.
It's fine.
I'll also add too that the faculty are fantastic recruiters, utilizing their expertise and being able to go out to the high schools. And again, in that cross matrix includes Dr. Moss, as he's building relationships with the high schools, and then finding opportunities for faculty to visit those high schools and even take opportunities to teach and present what they're able to do at the college, and building relationships with those students. So it's a fantastic dynamic that goes across, like I said, that all the way across the matrix.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to take a second of our time here at the board meeting to illustrate to you and the other members of the board exactly how this matrix is working. The students come in through Josh's area. They're recruited from prospects. They go through the admission process. And then once he gets them in, then Dr. Haas's area works and has different types of initiatives to keep them, to save them when they begin to slip off their pathway, to be able to reach back and help them. And often how they find that out is from the faculty. So you see all of these pieces are interconnected. They don't stand as their individual silos. And that's what I'm hoping, as you as a board, sir, are beginning to see now, how this is a large machine that operates from unit to unit, and they don't operate independently from one another. When they meet as a large unit, and they work together as a large unit to assure that our students come in, the students who do come in, complete. That's the goal. We want to see them graduate and complete. It's not just to get them through the front door. If that was it, we would stop with Josh, wouldn't we? But we don't. We move on to the faculty who help and guide, and then reach over to the student support section, which focuses on unique qualities of those students to help them become successful. So that's what we wanted you to see this evening, sir. Okay. moving on to some of the more operational aspects of the college, I'll ask Jim Morgan to speak to you. He's the chief of campus operations and responsible for workforce development. He can give you the update and the financial. But he needs a mic. We can barely hear you. You're muted. It says you're muted. There. Nope, you're still muted. There you are. Well, why don't we do this, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, sir? Why don't I allow Jim to work on his microphone and see if he can get it working? And I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda, and we'll come back to Jim here in just a moment after he gets his mic sound turned up. I'm not sure how that's doing. He's looking at it rather perplexed at the moment. But as a request to the board wanted to hear a little bit this evening about what's happening with our meat processing program. And so we have a report on what's happening in workforce development with Mary Beth Bush, and she and Dr. Manny Encinius will give you an update on the ongoing activity with the meat processing program. And then we'll come back to Mr. Morgan, with your permission, sir, to see if his mic is working that he can deliver to you.
Go right ahead, sir.
All right, Mary Beth.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us here this evening. I will be very brief because Dr. Encinius is going to give you the details. Basically, my report is sort of standard meetings with the exception of the honor of accompanying the president to Idaho to the Mountain States Association of Community Colleges meeting, where I attempted to lead a dialogue on workforce partnerships. But when you have several presidents together, I found that they have their own agenda. But I gave it a really good try. Other than that, we have had some extremely productive workforce meetings, some of which included Mr. Kaiser. And I just want to point out that part of the workforce concept, fortunately, as we're building this new division, one of the things we're focusing on is making sure that access is available from multiple points. So a lot of our workforce programs are going to be available through the credit route or through the non-credit route. And they'll end up with the same certifications and credentials, regardless of how they're able to access those programs. But I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Encinius, and he's going to update you on both MEAT and CDL progress, I believe, that we have made.
Good deal. Dr. Encinius.
Good evening to the Board of Trustees and all those in attendance this evening. Thank you, Mrs. Bush, for the opportunity to address the meeting. Yeah, we are so excited about the progress that we've made on various workforce and academic programs throughout the college. Again, it's a credit to just the collaboration amongst all the team members. Just really appreciate from a faculty perspective and also working in workforce, just the collaboration between academic affairs and workforce to try to bring, again, access to the students and the community in the region on some programs that we feel are going to be unique and very high impact. I'm going to go ahead and just start real quickly on the Mesalands Meat Academy. Obviously, if you are keeping abreast of the situation of the protein supply chain across the country, it's very volatile as we understand it. In New Mexico, we have a lot of interest in strengthening the capacity around animal protein production, obviously, because we are a meat producing state. I'm happy to say that, last fall, Dr. Bush and I met in collaboration with, I believe Mr. Morgan was in attendance, and also the Evans family out of Tucumcari, and we talked about the benchmarks and the goals and the timelines as to when we would have a program ready to launch at Mesalands. And so we've been working, in bits and pieces and collaborating with other institutions other nonprofits to kind of pilot test some aspects of the Mesa Lands Meat Academy over the last couple of years. But today I would be happy to say that we're ready to have a program that is going to be of unique and a benefit to the region and the industry in New Mexico and in the Texas Panhandle. Again, I would say just first and foremost that our overall goal that we're looking at with this program is to enhance skill sets, strengthen job opportunities, and provide opportunities to the workforce. What our program looks like here at Mesa Lands today is that it has, again, as Mary Beth was alluding to, is that we have a workforce side and we have an academic component to the Meat Academy. Obviously, the workforce is the one that is of the most importance, I would say, to me, being directly involved in the meat industry. As we go across New Mexico, we see that there is a tremendous amount of workforce efficiency. We have USDA plants, we have custom plants in production, but they are still lacking employees. And so, again, what we've been focusing on is trying to develop basically the idea and the concepts to strengthen and have we build more workforce employees and put them directly into work. And that's really where we're going to be focusing on in this coming fall. But we're also talking about the academic side. We're launching it this fall at the undergraduate level through the approved animal science pathway, and also offering the dual credit opportunity for some classes that are already approved, just to kind of begin to work at the high school level with some high schools that have already reached out to us across the state, knowing that we're kind of, again, leading the way as far as the meat program goes across the state. So we have an online self-paced curriculum that benefits, again, the workforce and the academic side of the house. So we have the curriculum established. Again, I think that's definitely the hook to bring in students into the college. But we're also working to develop a team of experts to put ourselves in a position to assist and, again, strengthen the animal protein production and processing capacity in the region. That's huge, right? We have to be able to find the experts that we can collaborate with. And, in June, we finished up, while very few people knew about it, we actually completed our first round of certifications in Wisconsin, so outside of the state of New Mexico. But these were actually the first successful candidates that completed our program, and they were on the Oneida Nation in Wisconsin. Again, we collaborated with First Nations Development Institute that serves Indian populations and communities. We worked with faculty at the University of Wisconsin, River Falls, and also San Angelo State University. So we really are, again, putting ourselves in a position to do some unique stuff on the meat side of things. We will be coming up in August. We'll be doing a needs assessment with all custom and all USDA inspected processing facilities, again, in August and September, where we can better understand their workforce needs. So the reason we need to do a needs assessment is so that we can go to these different small capacity plants and find out what kind of employee they're looking for, what equipment they're being trained on, and, again, how do we develop a curriculum maybe specific to a certain facility that benefits their business and that also provides workforce opportunities within the community. So, again, we're talking about north, south, east, and west in New Mexico. Again, we have a lot of diverse demographics, so to speak. So, but we're excited to be able to go out and do that, as nobody in the state, from an institutional standpoint, has addressed the needs of these small capacity facilities. We've already started a preliminary assessment with our local facility, being the Evans family. We were there a couple weeks ago, and we extended our services to the Evans family, looking not only to work with them to help build capacity within their local facility, but also to collaborate and hopefully do a little bit of on-the-job training with some of our students as this program unfolds. So that's a little bit about our program, a little bit of some of the events that we're going to be talking more about our program at as soon as tomorrow, we're going to be talking to the Northeastern New Mexico Food Summit about some of these training opportunities that we have. On August 9th, we will be hosting a meeting with the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union to talk more again about meat workforce training and some of the other programs that are pertinent to the region. And then in October, we'll also be the flagship institution in New Mexico to host the Western Meat School, which is a 5-state collaboration with Oregon State University, Montana State University, Colorado State University, and University of Wyoming. I bring that to your attention because, again, if you look at the other other leading institutions, those are the land-grant institutions of these other states. And we are fortunate as a small community college to kind of be at the table with these 1862 institutions. Why? Because we've had the support of administration to pursue high demand, high need types of programs. And I can't thank administration and the leadership team and the board of trustees for having confidence in pursuing this type of a program. In addition, there's a lot of opportunity for us as an institution to take advantage of a lot of the new USDA grants that are out there in this area of the animal protein supply. So we're looking forward to really making a big push in August and September to meet some of those grant deadlines. But I tell you, and as I've mentioned in some of the meetings that I've had with Mr. Morgan and Miss Mary Beth and Dr. Bush, is the whole idea is that this is a race as far as establishing a unique and high demand area of workforce and academics in the state of New Mexico and the region. The industry is in high demand for employees, and I'm just happy to be involved with this program to this point. So thank you so much for your time. And I'll be happy to answer any questions as it relates to the MEATS program, and then we'll get into the CDL if Miss Mary Beth would like for me to talk a little bit about that.
Any question on the MEAT program? I'll simply piggyback off of Dr. Encinius for a moment. When he says that we're becoming recognized as a strong partner with the land grant institutions in the agriculture in the state, we've always had a good relationship, but it's growing and it's getting better. And on August 2nd, I'll be the keynote speaker for New Mexico State University's agricultural program and their field day. So they've invited me to come and speak to them. The only community college coming to New Mexico State University to talk and to link how we are committed to expanding and working in agriculture. So we're very committed to this idea. Dr. Encinius, if you would like to carry on with the really great news that you'd like to share about the CDL program this evening, let's do that.
Well, again, we launched the CDL program on March 1st, 2022. We launched this program that used to be a stronghold here at Mesa Lands about 10 years or so ago, and we were happy to be able to have a program that, again, was high demand of not only for the region but nationally. And again, I think one of the key components of having a strong program is having key experts in that area, and we were able to recruit and develop a relationship with a trainer who had been in the system in the region before. Mr. Alejandro Ojeda is key to the success of this program. One of the biggest hurdles that we've had with the program to date was just to be able to have Mesa Lands and the campus become an accredited location to host the state exam for CDL Class A. In the last few days, we've received the documentation to be able to initiate the progress to come into an agreement with the New Mexico Department of Transportation Motor Vehicle Division, where we can actually not only train students on our campus through our program, but also be able to take them through the examination for them to actually get their CDL Class A. Right now we are having to drive as far as Taos, New Mexico to get our students to go through the test, which is it's very inconvenient, very costly. And so we are very appreciative again of our leadership, Dr. Bush, Mr. Morgan, Mrs. Bush, and again, other individuals that have helped us kind of get into the director or the leadership of DOT to kind of help us get this whole process going. We're excited about the CDL program. We have a high demand. It's really become a high demand. We have a lot of collaborators with this project. The Department of Workforce out of Clovis has been very, very instrumental in helping us secure some funding for some of our students. But I think beyond the workforce side, which where it is placed right now, we're also working again to improve access and build this program onto the academic side. On the academic side, it's still an approved program. It just hasn't been utilized. So we're working with Mr. Kaiser to help bring that program to life again on the academic side again, because it's about access. Our students need access from various angles, and the academic side will provide more opportunity for students to utilize financial aid to make a big career change for them, to the benefit of not only themselves but the community. So I'm not sure if there's any other questions on the CDL program, but I'm happy to address those as well.
Dr. Insenius, I want to go back to the meet. When do you anticipate getting a mobile unit? Is that still in the works for
Mr. Sidwell? Yeah, we've had some proposals in the works, and have not been funded on the proposals, but we're going back after some more funding from the mobile side. I feel like I think from a training perspective, the mobile unit will be great. But our experience working with some of the mobile units that are out there is that they don't provide the best training opportunity just due to the limited space. But we are looking at some more funding opportunities coming up again in the next month or so to look at the mobile units again. But we're looking really from a training standpoint that we need more open space, right? If we're going to be training a workforce, again, as recently as working with the group in Wisconsin, they had a mobile unit that was built out of a company out of Colorado, and it just really limited. It was more of a one-on-one interaction instead of a 1-on-6 or a 1-on-8 interaction because the space was so tight. But we're working on that, kind of moving forward.
And if I could just interject for a minute on that issue, we've talked a lot about these mobile units, and really the only way you can access one is through a successful grant application. But I think given the limitations of that, we're going to focus just as much on partnerships. As our program is established and becomes well-known, we're going to look at partnerships in the other areas that we want to serve, where we can utilize facilities, whether it's with companies that we form partnerships with that allow us to utilize some space, or things like that allow more students at a time to be participating in that lab experience.
Mr. Sidwell, I know you and your family are very involved in the meat industry in the state, and as we assess the needs of these different plants, like my whole goal is to increase output out of these facilities that are already existing. If we could just increase our output by another 50% by allowing them to have more availability to workforce to run another extra half a shift, that would make a big track as far as increasing the capacity in the state. I know that everybody wants to increase the brick and mortar aspect of this industry and the supply chain. From a business standpoint, I think it's kind of high risk, but I think if we could get these small capacity facilities to just run another half a shift, or to boost some of these custom plants from custom exempt to USDA, I think we'll be able to increase capacity at a lower risk for already established businesses.
Yeah, that sounds good. Certainly be a lot cheaper than a multi-million-dollar facility. So,
well, speaking of multi-million-dollar facilities, Mr. Sidwell, Dr. Insenius or Mary Beth, please jump in. Mr. Galindo, who's joining us and writing the grants, Dr. Insenius can tell you a little bit, or I can tell you a little bit. The federal government announced about a month ago, how many $1 million, Dr. Insenius? Do you remember how much is being invested in meat production? Do you remember that number? It's a large number.
It's a
multi-million dollar number. And when you look at the criteria for receiving that grant, you need to be a rural serving institution. You need to be serving a Hispanic population and tribal populations. You need to be in an area that has a high beef production need and service. They might as well have sitting down and written it and described and said that this town had to start with a T, because it is so clear to us. And Julio Galindo is working on that grant. It's due, Dr. Insenius, in 2 months, I think.
August 29th. August 29th.
August 29th. So it'll be due August 29th. It does bring with it several $1 million if received. I think we stand, of all the grants that I've looked at lately, I think this is one grant that really stands to show great promise for us. I'll never sit here and tell you I think we're going to get a grant because you never know until you get it. But I will say that this one is one that really jumps out at us as being one that has a lot of potential to it. So I want to congratulate Dr. Insenius and Mary Beth and Jim Morgan in the workforce development side. That is truly a very growing area of the college, and their collaboration with the academic side of the house with Joel Kaiser and his people has been terrific. We're going to be seeing students being able to move from one side to the other so that we can best serve our community. And I want to thank them for the work they're doing in that regard. Speaking of Jim Morgan, I do believe he might be back with us now. So
Can you
Jim,
hear me?
we can hear you. So,
all right.
And before I turn it to you, however, I should offer the courtesy to the board if they have any questions for Dr. Insenius or Mary Beth regarding the MEAT or CDL programs. Oh, look who just joined us. We've been talking about him. Okay, good. You're okay. We've been talking. We've put you to work so many times already this evening. Just hang on. We'll introduce you in a minute.
Yeah, I just want to thank Dr. Insenius for getting into the details of meat processing that I am not capable of covering. And also, I will say that the whole leadership structure at Mesa Lands helps support that grant effort. You know, our efforts in Excellencia, our, strengthened recognition as an HSI, all of those supports that we have put in place to help students be successful are all going to be incredibly important to support the obviously excellent MEAT program that Dr. Insenius has put together. So I think that we have good opportunities there, and I'm really excited about it. So thank you, Dr. Insenius.
And I'm going to say one last thing. It's going to sound like we all just a mutual admiration society here, but I do want, she sort of blew over it real quick like it didn't amount to anything, but Mary Beth mentioned early on that she was the invited speaker at the Mountain States Association of Community Colleges. That organization represented 9 states of the United States who selected her to come and lead the discussion on workforce development. And that came not from me, it came from them, who were looking at what was happening in Mesa Lands and the way that we were building a workforce development division that was designed to support students. It was also designed as career ladders to help students move into academic areas. And she did a good job. She did an excellent job, although I couldn't watch her. And she described it as herding chickens. It was 18 presidents in a room, and all of them had to listen, and they're not used to doing that. Okay, with that, if Mr. Morgan will just bear with me 1 second, we do have a new guest I would like to introduce very quickly, and allow him to introduce himself to you. We have been talking about him all evening, especially as it relates to Manny's USDA. I think it's USDA grant that's coming up in August for to support the meat program. And this is Uriel Galindo. Uriel is joining us as the Chief Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Officer, as well as the Director of Institutional Advancement. Most recently, I'll just let him sort of give you a little brief background of what he's done. I've already told him you raised $125 million for your nonprofit. They're expecting twice that much next year. So we'll go ahead and start there. Julio, if you would take it over, please. How about turning your mic on? That'll help.
Okay, no, sorry. There we go. Yeah, sorry.
You're fine, sir.
All right, no, apologize for not being in the meeting here. I just found out that I had a Mesa Lands email maybe half an hour ago. Okay, so I have to make a correction, Dr. Bush. The $125 million, I raised it when I was in wealth management.
We don't care where you raised it, as long as you raise it again. So,
so I enjoy that aspect of it, bringing in resources, asset gathering, as I call it, for my nonprofit I created in wealth management and now in government. So appreciate being on board in these two capacities, these two positions, in terms of trying to help Dr. Bush and the team develop a campus climate and culture that is where we all want to be, right, as a community. Obviously, we define that together. And then, of course, trying to bring in assets beyond what the government and legislators give us through enrollment numbers as well, but through foundations, corporations, and individuals in the community. So looking forward to working with each and every one of you board members too. I'll be picking your brains and meeting with you individually, having coffee, breaking bread as well, as you know. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Uriel. We certainly welcome you to Mesa Lands, and we're very excited to have you on campus very soon. Now, last but absolutely certainly not least on tonight's agenda, the man we've all been waiting for all evening.
Okay, I'm here.
I think it's Jim Morgan's turn.
Yeah. I'll skip my notes pretty much. I just want to point out that we are basically done with the food pantry, and we are going to turn it on so they can start moving their shelves in. They have 4 shelves they want to move in probably later this week, and they'll probably be in operation next week. That's my guess. I would like to acknowledge that we have a lot of failed air conditioners on campus. And it would be remiss if I did not mention that myself, my maintenance team, and Dr. Bush will be redefining where people are going to go for classes, computer labs, and all that. We've already moved the esports camp for a 2-week camp over to Building E. So they are doing that. They have a nice lab. It's set up. I've been down there a couple of times. Obviously, they can do their functioning there. I think we can find enough classrooms to where people can get to a cool space. Hopefully, we can do that with our current space that we already have. We'll be doing that before the start of the semester. If you'll turn over to Exhibit 7, this is the finance report for June of 22. I need to say right off the bat that the June report done in July should contain the June budget summary report. However, We never do a June budget summary report because we have not closed the June budget. The books are still open. They won't close until we implement the audit. And once we implement the audit, then we can get a real report. So the first real budget summary report will be done in next month, and it will be the July report. At least I'm hoping we get done by then. So if you turn to the second enclosure, which is the checks cut report. No, turn to the third exhibit. I'm sorry. This is the checks cut from 401 to 439. If you wait one more second, I did not fully integrate my printout from Margaret into my book, so I think I've got a mix-up here. So, exhibits.
Jim, can I help you there?
Yeah, you can. I'm struggling with the printout. I think I put the printout from Margaret in the wrong place in my book.
Okay, looks to me like what we've got here is we've got checks, a check report from 4/1 of 2022 to 4/30 of 2022. 186 checks total. The amount is $241,357.12. If anybody has any questions about any items in here, you'll have to direct those to Jim.
And if there are no checks, I need action.
Yes, sir.
And Jim, I've got it open too. I can help you if you need some help.
Okay.
Any questions, anybody? Okay, if we have no questions, do we have a motion to approve the check report? Expenditures.
I make a motion that we approve the check report.
Okay, in a second, please.
Second.
Okay,
Teresa.
roll call. Okay, roll call.
Okay, Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Chris, you'll have to turn Jimmy on.
yeah.
Just a minute, Jimmy. He'll get you turned on here in a second. Okay, there's Jimmy. He's on now. Jimmy.
Mr.
Yes.
Sandoval, okay. Mr.
Okay.
Box,
You're muted, Phil.
Yes.
okay. Mr. Sidwell
Yes.
and Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. Jim, you want to finish your report? Jim, do you have anything else here?
Jim, did we lose you?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
That being said, Dr. Bush, you got anything else?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. I just want to take a moment and thank you for allowing me this evening to sort of direct this, sort of orchestrate this group around for you. It's sort of out of my daily work, but I do appreciate you giving me that opportunity tonight.
That's perfectly fine, sir. Folks, we're at the end of the meeting. There won't be, and we got new business. We have correspondence and informational items. The fall semester will begin August the 15th, 2022. The board calendar is in here, and I guess our next board meeting will be August the 16th at 5:30 p.m. and probably the same format been using here lately. So let me run down with everybody and see if anybody has any comments they want to make. Dr. Brooks, any comments, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Box, any comments, sir? Mr. Box, you're muted, sir.
No, sir, I have nothing.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McVeigh.
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Margaret.
No, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Bush.
No, sir, but I would like to ask you and Mr. Morgan to stay behind after the meeting, please.
Okay. I'm going to say Ms. Blanco.
That's right.
No, sir, not at this time. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Mr. Kaiser.
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Haas. Dr. Haas, excuse me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Chris Reynolds. Okay. Mr. Razik.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your personal interest in Clay Target Sports. We look forward to your support and that of the board moving forward.
I like to come out and watch anyway. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Okay. Tom. Mr. Sidwell.
I am commentless.
Okay. Ms. Bush.
Nothing here. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Stevenson.
I would just like to say welcome to everyone that's joined us at Mesa Lands. That's it.
Okay, Dr. Insidious.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
No, sir, not at this time. Thanks again for the opportunity to share.
Okay, you're welcome, sir. Mr. Galindo.
Just a big thank you to everyone, Dr. Bush, the board. Look forward to meeting you here shortly.
Okay, Mr. Sandoval. Chris, you're good. There you go. You're going to have to unmute him, Chris.
I think it means no.
Okay.
There you go. Jimmy.
No, I don't have nothing to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Morgan.
No, sir.
Okay. Only thing I've got to say is welcome aboard, everybody. I'm glad to have you here. Glad to see we've got a full crew.